So January was a great month for books.
Great run for reading. Yeah, we both read 5 books in January. Some of them are not here present with us today, so our stacks are looking a little small, but we did our reading this month.
5 books each. We're gonna take turns letting you know what books we read, what we thought about them, and at the end, how they all stack up. So my first book of January and my first book of the year was Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I jumped into it because I thought, what could go wrong? I love Sally Rooney. I read Normal People and I loved it, and so I thought that that was gonna be my safety author. When I was in a slump, I could... So I thought that when I was in a slump, I could pick up another Sally Rooney book and pick right back up enjoying reading. Turns out I hate this book. It was really disappointing. I thought that the characters, which were really the only element of the book present, were really miserable, and I didn't really enjoy following them. I had a hard time getting through it, and unfortunately, this book, despite me still loving Sally Rooney, was a 2 out of 5.
I started the year with a tandem read. I was going between Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storm from the Throne of Glass series. This is my favorite of her series. I think that her writing is good.
You think it's better than ACOTAR?
I think it's definitely better than ACOTAR, like by a lot. I still wouldn't say it's phenomenal or anything, but I think her storytelling is really what people are really captivated with.
Totally. Because I mean, even if it's well written, if it's not enjoyable,
then it's not good. But the story is pretty good in this one. I think so. We'll talk about Empire of Storms first. So this one is really just ramping up to war is kind of the whole thing. It's very much at the edge of your seat, like shit is happening. It's getting crazy, tensions are arising. There were some really beautiful, heartwarming moments of this book as well, especially with like Elaine. Love her. But yeah, some really sweet moments. I did think that some of the couplings felt a bit forced, and I feel like some of these characters are gay and she didn't make them gay. So that's one complaint I have, but that's okay.
Give this guy a woman.
Tower of Dawn. I liked this one a lot, actually. And this is one that a lot of people say you can skip because it's Kale and Nesrin, who are kind of like 2 side characters. And it's following their journey to Antarctica, which is on the southern continent. So it's a whole nother setting. It's kind of like a summer vacation book. It was kind of fun. It was fun to read. And there was also like a lot of really beautiful character development. And yeah, it was a breath of fresh air in this series. I love Kale. I know some people hate Kale. I love Kale. So that's what I'll say on Tower of Dawn. For Empire of Storms, I'm gonna give a 4.25. And Tower of Dawn, I'm gonna give 4.5 stars.
Ooh. So my second book of January was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And yeah, I mean, it was good. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that this book that has been like studied by like
everybody and their mother.
Yeah, everybody and their freaking moms is good. You know, it's good. But it is showing its age, unfortunately. It is well ahead of its time. Its time was 1890. So it's not today. It is good when it's good. But unfortunately, even though it's kind of short, a lot of it it's just kind of boring. Ultimately, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I liked the themes it was dealing with. I just wish that it was in a little bit more of an expedient package. So ultimately, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde gets 3 stars from me. It gained some extra points because I know it's good. I know, but I just don't look back on my time reading it very fondly. I didn't have very much fun when I was reading it.
All right, and the last one of the series, Kingdom of Ash. This one got me, y'all. This one is, we've spent like 5,000 pages with these characters, so obviously my heart was in it. I was really emotionally invested. some stuff happened that was really gut-wrenching and sad, and it was an emotional journey for sure. I probably cried at least 5 different times. Cody walked in on me kind of just curled up in a ball and kind of just ducked out of the room, realized I needed my time. But yeah, this is I think it's a pretty perfect end to the series. Everything was given a really beautiful arc and a really beautiful storyline and ending. I did have one big complaint about one way that they dealt with something, just because it felt fake. Like, it felt a little bit like, okay, girl, that wouldn't really happen. Like, she's not really gonna, she wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't do that.
So that bums me out a little bit, but other than that, I feel like this was a pretty perfect ending to the series. So I'm gonna give it a 4.75.
You liar.
What?
You give it a 5.
Call me liar. No, but I did have
that's
that
true,
problem.
that's true.
I didn't like that they did that. That made me mad.
The third book I read in January, unfortunately, I lent to some friends, so I don't have it on me right now, but it was Chain Gang All-Stars by Kwame, Adjei-Brenyah. And I thought this book was really excellent. In my opinion, everyone I've seen talking about this book so far, they've done it a little bit dirty, because the way they've described it is a gladiator book, a story of prisoners fighting each other to win their freedom, kind of presenting it like it's a action story, which is like a cool kind of political premise. And so that's kind of what I was expecting going into it. I was fine with that. But I was really pleasantly surprised by like how deeply explored all of the themes were. The action and the gladiator combat was really just kind of set dressing for all of the ideas being discussed. There was a lot of talk about, you know, the American prison system and exploitation and the ways that those kind of compound on each other, not just for, you know, exploitation with labor, but also for entertainment. And I just thought it was really good. It was really thought-provoking, really interesting. And I think if any of those themes sound at all interesting, you should definitely pick it up and give it a try, because for being described to me as just a book about prisoners fighting each other, I got a lot of genuine good analysis out of it. So if that's up your alley at all, you should definitely check it out. So I give Chain Gang All-Stars by Kwame, Adjei-Brenyah a 4 out of 5 stars.
And together we read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And I loved it.
I thought it was really great.
It was a really creative story about these two characters, Sam and Sadie, who meet in childhood, game together, and eventually develop games together.
Yeah, no, it's this really great like character exploration. It's very much like a Sally Rooney book, except it's just injected with a lot of whimsy, because these people, you know, they can't communicate, and so they communicate through making art together, and we get to explore that art with them. And it kind of gives us insight into their characters in that way without them just like talking at us the whole time. And I thought it was really good.
It was great, yeah. It was really creatively written. The characters were interesting and deep, and we did learn so much about them that they were completely unwilling to tell each other. A lot of miscommunication in this book, but we love the miscommunication trope when done well.
Yeah, I know that's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Like, oh, why can't these adults talk like adults? Well, they're teenagers for some of it.
Also, and sometimes adults can't talk to other adults like they should.
I think the key difference here between a story where people can't communicate is that this is a story of people who can't communicate with their words. They still communicate. And it's kind of up to us as readers to look at what they're saying based on the art they're making. And also, it just so happens that the art they're making is video games, so it's fun.
It's really fun.
And disclaimer too, I was immediately icked when I was told that this was about video games. I don't like books that have anything to do with video games. I think they're really cringy. But this book really avoided a lot of those traps of just kind of, you know, referencing video games to try and be cool or to get the readers to be like, oh my God, I know that thing. It was really well done. And I really enjoyed it. This is the first book that's made me cry, I must admit.
Bawling at happy hour. Bawling at happy hour we were. Yeah, There's some heavy stuff in this, but they deal with everything really beautifully. And it's just a great exploration of these characters.
Yeah, it's joyous.
I give it 5 stars.
I give it a 4.25 out of 5. And the last book of the month we also read together. Babel by R.F. Kuang.
What is there to say? What does one say about such a phenomenal piece of work? It's hard to review it because I feel like a kid in like an art museum. Like every time I like even think about talking about this book, because from like the second you open this book, you're just struck with like, oh shit, this is like a smart person.
Yeah.
Like she's so incredibly intelligent and everything is so well thought out. And I know a lot of people feel like her writing was unapproachable. We didn't feel that way at all.
Not to be mean, but I'm afraid that a lot of the people talking about this book online might be a little dumb.
Hey! No. Yeah, I didn't find it unapproachable at all. I just thought everything was really intelligent and she did a really incredible job of her critiques of capitalism and colonialism and the necessity of violence.
Yeah, like, I would say this book is Harry Potter written by somebody obviously smarter than J.K. Rowling, and also with the guts to like actually interrogate what their story is about. It is phenomenal. I really am afraid of trying to put into words all of the amazing things about this book.
It's hard.
It's like you said, it's one of those books where you're reading it and, you know, when I read books, I try and read them with kind of a critical eye. But I almost couldn't do it with this book because immediately, I just knew that the person writing this is so much smarter than I am. Like, they are just so brilliant. And that's not to say that it's, like, not fun to read either. I think, you know, there's a spectrum. There's a little graph here, right? Up here is enjoyability, and down here is like the actual quality of the book. And so often it's either a really good book with really good critiques and good themes, but it's a little slow. My previous favorite book, you know, Left Hand of Darkness, great themes, great ideas. A little bit dry sometimes. Or it's the other way around. I'm into it, I'm into this romance, are they gonna kiss or not? And that's all it's really asking, but I'm having a good time. This is somehow perfectly both.
Yeah.
We couldn't put it down, but
We
it's
couldn't put it down.
brilliant too.
And just like the setting of it all, she nails. She absolutely, like, you're in Oxford, you are in it, you are in Babel, and I was obsessed. This is a really, really phenomenal book, and I don't know what else to say. It's incredible, other than you have to read it.
You have to read it. If you're the kind of person who annotates their books, get your pens out, get your highlighters. This book is so dense with just good stuff. And it's fun all the way through too. Like, the characters are great. There's a great camaraderie and friendship between everybody. And I mean, it's Babel by R.F. Kuang.
Read it now, immediately if not sooner. Babel gets a 5 stars for me. Actually, can I pull out the 6 star? I think I need to pull out the 6 stars for Babel. Babel gets a 6 stars for me. The mythological 6 star.
That's very fitting.
I need it.
I mean, it makes sense. And I, for the first time ever, am giving Babel a 5 stars. I think it is a perfect book. It is my new favorite book, and we are going to be devouring everything else that R.F. Kuang has ever done or ever will do. January was a great month for books for the both of us.
Great month for books.
The best books that we read were books that we read together as well.
Yeah.
Now, it's time to rank them. So for me, at the bottom of the pile is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. No surprise, this, I think, is the only book I've read so far in this whole experience of talking about books that I just actively disliked. I didn't like this book at all, but there's no but. Yeah, number 5 for me, Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. Then at number 4, I have The Picture of Dorian Gray. Obviously, great book, but at the end of the day, I have to be honest with myself, and I don't want to reread this book. I didn't necessarily enjoy the whole time I was reading it. It's good, and so that, you know, ekes out a few stars from me, but didn't really enjoy it. I'm not going to be going back to it, so number 4 for January. At number 3, I have Chain Gang All-Stars by Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. Honestly, I thought this book was a really brilliant commentary on a lot of really important things and was really well done. The only reason it's not higher is that while I didn't necessarily have any problems with the book, it also didn't blow me away in terms of quality. And so it sits at number 3, but with a really wholehearted recommendation. You should definitely give it a try. At number 2 is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I think this is kind of the epitome, the platonic ideal of literary fiction. And I think that if you want a book that is really a celebration of life and all of its little nuances, you know, especially involving characters that are realistic and not perfect people, this is definitely one to try. It won a lot of awards, and I think for good reason. You should absolutely read this book if you want to go on an emotional journey. And no surprise to anybody here, but number 1, Babel by R.F. Kuang. My new favorite book, the only book I've ever given 5 stars. I think this book needs to be taught in schools. I think that this is a perfect summation of why books matter.
Yeah.
This is an incredible book, an incredible experience, an incredible work of art. You need to read it.
All right, so for January, my number 5 in last place is Empire of Storms. I did absolutely adore this one. But I just read so many good books this month. And if y'all can tell, I am a lot less of a critical reader than Cody in some ways.
It's not as mean.
Remember that shit? I kind of love most of what I read. I like reading. At number 4, I do have Tower of Dawn. This, I really loved. Again, I mean, I'm a fan of Kale. This is a lot about him. Hated him at the start, loved him at the end. And I think that's a testament to how good a job this book does at showing his growth and his journey. At number 3, we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I loved this book. It's such a fun character study. I loved the whimsy. I loved the video games. It was just really entertaining. It's not like necessarily a lighthearted read, but it is so fun. So I have no complaints about this one. I thought this was really perfect, which is crazy that it's at number 3, but I do have to be honest with myself. My number 2, I know I rated it lower than Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And I agree with that rating, but I also do have to be honest with my heart and the way I feel. So I am gonna rate this second. This book destroyed me. And it also made me feel so hopeful and lovely. So many emotions, such a wild roller coaster, a really great way to end the series that I really enjoyed reading. So yeah, I thought this was pretty perfect, definitely touched me. That's why it's number 2. And then of course, number 1 is Babel, because I've never read a better book in my life. It's so poignant, so important. Like Cody said, this should be in the curriculum for like every single class ever. It's just so good. It's the way that it addresses the topics that it deals with is so responsible and also like really engaging. And it's such a great critique of capitalism and colonialism and so many other things. And it's just, I think, a really important read that everyone should read. I think this is a truly phenomenal book, and I think everybody should be babbling about Babel.
January was a phenomenal year. January was a phenomenal month for reading for the 2 of us.
It really was.
And also, thanks so much for everyone who's been watching on YouTube and on TikTok. for giving us a fun outlet. We were going to be reading anyway, and it's really nice to get to share our thoughts with all of you.
Yeah.
I know that we're probably not alone in that when you finish a book, you just, you get antsy. You want to share your thoughts. You want to talk to people about it. And you guys have really given us an outlet to do that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we've really enjoyed this experience, and thanks for following along with our January reads.
Yeah, if you ever want to hear a little bit more in-depth our thoughts on some of these books, check out our shorts on YouTube and TikTok where we review each and everything we've read.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Say bye.